Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Anna from GreenGeeks, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, 10 Ways to Make More Sales on WooCommerce with our guest speaker, Kathy Zant. I will introduce Kathy in a moment, but glad to have you here, Kathy. Real quick. Be here. Kathy. I just wanted to say a couple of words about GreenGeeks. For those of you who are watching us and who are not familiar with us, we're a 300% green energy web hosting provider, which means essentially we put back 3 times the amount of power we consume into the grid in the form of renewable energy. We have been recognized by the US EPA since 2009 as a green power partner, and we offer several types of hosting: share hosting, reseller hosting, VPS, and dedicated servers. Now, moving on to the fun part, the webinar. If you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A, and Kathy will be answering them at the end of her presentation. You can also chat in the chat room, but remember that if you want everybody to see who we are talking, what are you talking about, you need to select the option all panelists and attendees. And one more thing, as always, we are recording this. So if you need to step away, don't worry, because we are going to be sending you a recording in the next few days. Now we're going to introduce the team here from GreenGeeks. Erica Barbosa, she will be assisting us with the chat and the Q&A. Hey, welcome, Erica. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Anna. Thank you. Hi, Kathy. And hello, everyone. My name is Erica Barbosa. I am from Costa Rica. I work in the partners team. Today I'm going to be in the chat, reading your comments and sharing some information. And I hope you enjoy with Kathy today. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Erica. Now I'm going to introduce Kathy. Kathy is a really good friend. We met at the WordCamp, and then many other WordCamps. We kept laughing about it because we kept bumping into each other in the lobby of hotel rooms when we were checking in for the camps. Anyway, it's funny. Kathy was a developer for many years prior to moving sites to WordPress. And when she was homeschooling her kids, she started working part-time cleaning malware out of sites for WordFence, which company you may know, and ended up working in that organization for many years. And she worked from security analyst, operations manager, sales, and community relations, and then marketing. Kathy has consulted with many commerce businesses as migrating sites from other shopping cart systems to WooCommerce, and she's been helping them navigate the features. So welcome, Kathy. Would you like to say hi and start the presentation?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. It was so great to hear from you. And I just jump at any opportunity that I get to talk to my friends at GreenGeeks, especially you, Anna. So, and it's so nice to meet you, Erica, as well. And, you know, my most recent experience has been in the realm of security, and I just was very excited to start talking beyond security and start talking about all the fun things that we can do with WordPress and e-commerce. So yeah, I'm ready to dive in. I've got some slides to share, and if at any time, I might ask the audience a few questions as we're getting going, just so that I can get to understand where you are in your journey with WooCommerce, so that I can tailor the presentation to you. I've designed this so that it works for beginners as well as people who are more intermediate and advanced, because there's tons of just ideas that you can start immediately implementing in order to start getting more sales. So I will share my screen if I can find it. There it is. Okay, can you see?
Yes, you can see.
Awesome. Okay, great. All right. Okay, so these are going to be 10 ways that you can start making sales with WooCommerce, but it's going to, each of the 10 items is going to have multiple things underneath it that you can, actionable steps that you can actually start making more sales and measuring the effectiveness of your campaigns starting today. So we're going to have some specific things that you can do. Just to give you an idea of who I am, I've been working with WordPress forever. I was a developer before WordPress. My history, I started in speech communication, but I wasn't like 20 years old. Who wants to listen to a 20-year-old kid spout off anything about anything? So I wanted to, talk about something that was important. And the internet came along about that time. And so I dove into learning how to code and started developing sites. So I have kind of like this dual life of being both a developer and someone who can get into a database and tear things apart and put things back together again, as well as understanding the security aspects. I was a security analyst at WordFence for many years, but I'm also a marketer and a writer and a teacher and an organizer. And this is your cue to go get your tickets for WordCamp US, which is taking place on October 1st in just a few weeks. I'm helping organize there, and we've got a great lineup of awesome speakers. It's free. So there's your reminder to go get tickets for WordCamp US. That'll be a lot of fun. But let's talk about WooCommerce. Why WooCommerce? I mean, you can start up Shopify, or there's tons of different platforms on which you can sell your products and services. What makes WooCommerce the best choice? Well, from my perspective, kind of growing up with the internet, it's great to own your own platform. If you build something, you're building it in, if you're building it in Shopify or any other platform that's owned by a company, you're basically like building your house in the state of Shopify. You're building your commerce in the state of Shopify. If Shopify decides they're going to do something different, you kind of have to go along with it. And a couple of years ago in 2019, MailChimp and Shopify kind of had a little bit of a breakup. Things that you could do with MailChimp, you could no longer do with Shopify, because Shopify had basically changed the rules of the game, and it's their platform. They can do that. With WooCommerce, if say a plugin is abandoned or a plugin isn't meeting your full needs, you can actually write your own plugin, plug it into WordPress and WooCommerce, and basically extend things and customize it specific to your needs. And you own that platform. Obviously you're working with a hosting provider like GreenGeeks, and you have your site hosted somewhere. And there's other plugin developers and things like that you have to work with, but you get to decide what gets plugged in. You get to decide how things are going to work. And if something's not working for you, you can customize that and extend it any way you want. It is the best platform for selling online. And there's an awesome community behind WooCommerce and WordPress. WooCommerce is now being used by 5 million sites, and there's a robust community of people behind this who are making sure that it is, secure, making sure that it is meeting the needs of the community. And it's still growing. If you go on my twitter.com/Kathy Zant, I posted something yesterday. Alex Denning, who runs Ellipsis Marketing, he looks at search trends with WooCommerce and WordPress. And last year he found that WooCommerce search terms were like skyrocketing. And this year they're tapering off a little bit, but his research that he posted yesterday showed that it is still continuing to grow, and we're going to see increased growth with WooCommerce going forward. But no matter what platform you choose in order to sell, you still have to sell. And there's a lot of people who hate that word. They hate sales. Like, oh, don't make me sell. I'll talk to customers. I'll do whatever, but please don't make me have to sell. But let's reframe what sales is all about. What is sales, and when are you selling? And I have a few quotes from people who think about sales a lot, just to kind of frame what sales really is. This quote is from a sales consultant, Jeffrey Gitomer. He writes about sales, and he states that great salespeople are relationship builders who provide value and help their customers win. Relationship builders. Interesting. Here's a quote from Brian Tracy where he said, approach each customer with the idea of helping them solve a problem or achieve a goal, not selling a product or service. So we're developing a relationship, and we're helping customers solve a problem or achieve a goal. David Nagel stated that sales is something you do for someone, not to someone. So it's kind of like developing a relationship with a friend, figuring out what problems or goals they're trying to achieve, and helping them out, being a good friend, doing something for someone, helping them. And our final quote from Rand Fishkin, who is, known in our industry for his thoughts on SEO. The best way to sell something, don't sell anything. Earn the awareness, the respect and trust of those who might buy. Now, awareness is just, knowing that you exist and that your storefront exists, but earning respect and trust. These are cornerstones of good relationships. So what are we trying to do with sales? We're trying to develop a relationship with our prospects and with our customers. All right, so let's ask a question and put this into the chat. Let me know, how long have you been working with WooCommerce? Is it like 1 year? Did you just start? Have you been using it for a while? How long has WooCommerce been, or basically online e-commerce, been a part of your life? And you can also let me know, how comfortable are you with it? Are you feeling like you're successful, or do you feel like you need some help? And take your time with that. I'm going to jump into our first way that we're going to increase sales. And this is kind of like the foundation of all sales, right? Because we're developing a relationship. How can you develop a relationship with a customer or a prospect if we don't know who they are? We have to get to know our customers in order to develop a relationship with them. We have to know who they are, how they think, the language that they use, where they're coming from, where are their pain points, and what goals do they have related to your product. So how do we do that? We do market research. We ask questions. We have someone in mind. I have a friend who's a pretty famous author and has sold millions of books. And he wrote his sort of cornerstone book for his sister. His sister was the one target market. He just wanted to help his sister. So he wrote a book and ended up becoming a rather well-known author because he had his target market of, I want to help my sister. Sometimes it just takes one person. Part of the reason why I wanted to talk about WooCommerce is that I have a couple of people that I'm working with who are having a hard time getting their marketing going with WooCommerce. And so this is kind of like my target market for this presentation is them. They're going to watch this probably as a rerun, as a replay, but yeah, have your target market in mind, and you have to research. You have to ask questions of them. Set up. You can use like SurveyMonkey or Ninja Forms is a great form tool to set up a survey and ask questions of your customer and see what language they answer in. And then you can do secondary research as well. So you have your target market. What kind of research have other people done about that market, and learn from other people's research as well. And of course, we have to measure all of these things. Analytics is incredibly important. All of this is going to inform your decision-making and help you make decisions about what's best in terms of your marketing, and give you ideas for how you're going to communicate to your customers. And of course, you have to do some competitive analysis. Who are you up against? Who is your competition? So how are we going to get to know our customers? Obviously, surveys, asking them, keyword research. So if you have your site hooked up for Google Search Console, you can kind of see what's happening in terms of Google searches for your site. If you have search on your site, which is something I highly recommend, is making sure that search is available on your site. Measure those types of things that customers are searching for. Think about Amazon, the sort of gold standard for e-commerce. When you go to Amazon, what do? Do you go through the categories to find running shoes, go through apparel? And no, you go to the search bar and you type in, Saucony running shoes or whatever is your running shoe of choice. And that information, you can bet your bottom dollar that Amazon is storing that information and learning from it. Not just learning in aggregate what their market is doing, but learning what you as a customer are doing as well. And there are ways that you can set up Google Analytics so that you can see what people are searching for on your site as well. So what language are your customers using? to communicate about your products. You know, are they searching for running shoes? Are they searching for a specific product, a brand, that type of thing? And what questions are they asking? So your first item to do, if you haven't done it yet, set up Google Analytics for your storefront, for your WordPress site. There's a document, and this slide presentation will be available afterwards. If you want to you can just email me at Kathy@Zant.com and I can send you a link to the presentation. So you can get all of these links if, you know, it's too hard to copy them out, or you can just Google search, of course. But you want to make sure that Google Analytics is set up on your site. Make sure that if you have search set up on your site, that you are tracking what people are searching for on your site in Analytics. There's also a plugin called Search Meter that you can put on your site, and that will also track what people are searching on your site as well within your dashboard. Okay. Number 2, know your product. So every customer is buying a product or service from you, but we're going to call it a solution, because when we think about your product or your service in terms of a solution, what are we thinking about? Kind of presupposes that there's a problem there, right? So let's talk about it in terms of a solution. All customers are going to buy in order to solve a problem or achieve a goal. So we have to know what their problems are or what their goals are. And then you have to realize that your product has to fit a market. So if you have a product and there's no market for it, it's kind of hard to sell it. So you have to understand, you know, there's an aggregate group of customers out there that need your product or service. And we're going to try to connect those and have that fit. So in order to do that, we have to understand what our value proposition is. So what is a value proposition? It's a statement that summarizes why a customer would choose your product or service. It communicates in the clearest way, a benefit that customers receive by giving you their business. It should speak to the customer's challenge and make the case for your company as the problem solver. So you have to know what customers you're going to serve, which needs you're going to meet in that customer group, and the price that is acceptable value for those customers, and acceptable profitability for you. Now, going through the exercise of doing a value proposition statement, and we are going to, oh, my slide isn't popping. Great. Okay, I think I got it. Do we see take action on there of writing the unique value proposition? Hopefully that's what you are seeing too. We want to write a clear definition of your unique value proposition. We want to know what's unique about your service, what's unique about your product, and how it's going to fit that market. Now, this isn't just an exercise for you. It's also an exercise for your team. I've gone through this process when I was director of marketing at WordFence. This is one of the process that I went through, is basically writing out the value proposition for all of our customers and all of our prospects for the WordPress community, any WordPress user. And what was the value proposition? What made that unique? What was unique about that particular product and service? The great thing about it is once it was done, it was kind of a living document that I would come back to and add ideas, share with the team. Other people would add ideas, and it became sort of this guiding force. You have somebody new starting on the team. This gives them an idea of what that unique value proposition is all about and why we're here. So it's not just helpful for you to do, it's helpful for you to do for your team. And so your team is fully educated in understanding how we're going to communicate with customers. Once that's done, it's time to go where your customers are. Now, in the brick and mortar world, stores are very selective about where they place their storefronts. You know, they do demographic research about communities. Now, I live on the outskirts of a college town, and in the college town, right next to the dorms, is Insomnia Cookies. Wonder why it's there. 2 a.m. you're studying for finals, cookies at 2 a.m. delivered to your dorm room. Hey, isn't that perfect? Now, if they put insomnia cookies down the street for me, I'd probably buy some, but is that really where the market is? You know, just like that brick and mortar example, the same type of thing is happening online. You have markets that are basically congregating in various social media areas. So like my daughter, she's the TikTok generation. She's on Snapchat, even talking to her brother on Snapchat. They ignore me. I'm like the YouTube and Facebook generation. If you have a product or service and you are trying to reach my 13-year-old daughter, I can tell you that it's not going to work on Facebook. But if you go to TikTok and create content there specific to your product that targets a 13-year-old, she's probably going to come up and find that product and ask me to buy it. So 2 target markets there though, right? You've got one person who's deciding to buy that thing and another person who's actually going to put in the credit card number. But you have to understand how these dynamics work and where your market is showing up. Pew Research did a study on social media research in 2021, and that a majority of Americans say that they're using YouTube and Facebook, but Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok are especially common among adults under 30. So what do we do when we get there? What kind of content do we create when we are visiting these platforms? Well, what do people, I saw a recent study where they asked what people are doing on YouTube. Education, they want to learn how to do something. They want information and news. They're looking to be entertained, and they're looking to be inspired, sort of in that order. So first of all, education, they want to learn how to do something. They're looking for information, or they're looking for news. Then they're looking for entertainment and inspiration. Now on TikTok, that might be different. I only recently started looking at it, and I'm there to be entertained. Show me all your cute dog videos, I'll watch them. So we want to go there, create content that engages customers, engages our prospects, engages our target market in a way where they are of the mindset of doing those things. And then we're going to invite them back to our site. But while we're there, we want to add links back to the site, and we want to use what they call UTM tracking codes. So we can measure in Google Analytics where our audience is coming from when they visit our site. I mean, you can create all of the TikTok content in the world and it links back to your site. But if you're not tracking where that's coming from and what particular video it's coming from, if you're not measuring all of that, how do you repeat it? How do you learn from that? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to learn from this so that we can continue to iterate and create great content that engages customers, brings them to our site, and gets them to buy. And what are we doing there? We're developing and nurturing relationships. You can create content that's not necessarily specific to your particular, like for example, this webinar, we're creating content here. I'm giving you content. This is educational, hopefully inspirational, hopefully a little funny too. I'm going to try. But I'm not talking about hosting. I'll talk a little bit about hosting later, but this is not like a sales pitch for GreenGeeks. This is content that's going to help you be more successful with your storefront. Why? Because if you're successful with your storefront and your store is getting all of this traffic and you have to call up GreenGeeks, I need a bigger server. I need you're going to have a better customer relationship because they're creating this type of content that's helping you be more successful. They benefit from your success. And that's what you need to do with your customers. Give them the content that's going to help them solve problems, maybe not even necessarily related to the problem that your service or product is solving, but something that helps those customers. They're going to remember it and they're going to come to you and buy your product and service when it matters. So what are we going to do? Our take action for this portion for number 3. Step out of your comfort zones and join a social network that you haven't used before. You're going to learn something about a different market, and you might learn that your product or service has a market you never thought of before. So whatever, I don't know, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you haven't played yet, go play and see what you can learn. I'm learning things. I like dog videos. All right, next, what we're going to do. Once we have all of these customers identified, we know what their problems are. We know what they need. We have connected with them on social media. We are going to build and cultivate an email list. And how are we going to do that? We are going to provide incentives to join your list. Everybody's like, oh, email doesn't sell. I'll tell you what, email still sells. MailChimp was just bought by Intuit for $12 billion. And I was just talking to a friend, like, why, how Intuit and MailChimp, how does this go together? Mail still works. And if you look at what Intuit owns, they own what? QuickBooks. Small businesses use QuickBooks. Small businesses need to connect with customers. And every single email that connects with customers, whether it's a receipt or a shipping notification, every touch point is important in that customer's journey. Email still works. So we want to get these people on our email list. So we need to provide an incentive to do so, an incentive to kind of solidify that relationship. We're not just in passing on social media anymore. Now we're going to get serious. So we want to provide an incentive. So what kind of incentives do we have? We could have an ultimate guide. HubSpot is brilliant at doing this. I think you have some examples later of how HubSpot does this. And if you're not subscribed to HubSpot's emails and look at some of their marketing, it's really quite good and you can learn a lot from it. Discount codes or coupons. Sign up for our email list. We'll give you 15% off your next order. Make sure you follow through and give them that coupon code. News and alerts. Out of stock notifications. If you are ever out of stock on something that's popular, make sure that your customers can get an out of stock notification, just another touch point. And you're solving a problem. Not only is your product or service solving a problem, but you're solving the problem of being out of stock when they want something. So you're giving them another touch point. Really important. And wish lists. Really important, especially if you're targeting like younger kids. I have a friend who worked on a site for that targeted, you know, preteens. And what the kids were doing is they were adding everything they wanted into the cart, which of course messes up all of the cart analytics because it's like, look at all of these abandoned carts. Well, these kids were using the cart as kind of like their wish list. They added wish lists and then they were able to measure what was going on with carts and abandoned carts versus what was going on with kids' wish lists. And kids could create a wish list and then pass that on to mom and say, here's what I want for Christmas. So it's a great tool to use to establish a relationship with your customers. So what kind of email are we going to be sending them? Well, there's going to be a lot of transactional emails, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we want to also provide the same kind of information that people are looking for us on social media, but in a more intimate way. So we're going to educate, inform, entertain, and we're going to set a schedule and stick to it. We're going to send new product announcements. We're going to send information to people about products that they may have looked at. Pier 1, they just closed down. They're closing down all their like retail stores and they're going completely online. And they're really interesting to watch in terms of how they're doing email marketing. You sign up to their list, you click on something in one of their emails, and then they start emailing you multiple times. Hey, you've got great taste, complimenting, you know, like what? Oh, they're such friends. They love my taste. And then they put what you looked at in an email to you. So it's a very intimate, once you're in somebody's email inbox, you get to be a little more intimate there. It's not just on social media where you're putting up, you know, Pier 1 is like putting up pictures of beautiful rooms or decorating for fall. That's very generic. Now we can be very specific of how they've interacted with the site, how, you know, the products that they've looked at, those types of things. And you can always, you know, include a call to action in your emails. And we have a question of how many emails per week or month would be an adequate number. I would mail your customers I would try to do it once a week, and always include something that's of value to your customers, something that they can use, some kind of news, something topical, maybe something in your industry is happening in the news and you have some commentary on it, something that might be entertaining. Use like entertaining copywriting, ways that are engaging to them, so that they not only get value of information from your emails, but they are also, entertained and want to share it with their friends. So reward them for being on your list by being consistent, setting that, that schedule and sticking to it, and giving them something of value, giving them coupons, giving them specials for being on your list. So if you haven't done it yet, create an offer in return for email. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a landing page. And if you do a search for like HubSpot Ultimate Guide to Video Marketing, for example, that's one of theirs that they do. You can create a landing page with a promise of something that they're going to get. Once they've confirmed their email, then you provide that thing of value. It could be a coupon code. It can be a cheat sheet on how to do something, a how to do something guide specific to your industry, an interview that you've done, an exclusive recipe. If you're like a cooking site and you're selling, products related to cooking, maybe it's an exclusive recipe. That's something that only people who subscribe to the newsletter can get. One thing that I've seen a lot is people using a quiz to get people on. People love quizzes, like, what does your favorite color say about your personality? And you have to go through all these quizzes and stuff. And at the end, give us your email and we'll email it to you. Don't make it like that cheesy, but it's something that you can do specific to your industry, specific to your customers, something useful to them that will tell them something specific about them, and they give their email in return. So just some ideas, but something that you can do. Connect with your audience's problems or goals and create some kind of content that explores solutions or shows them how to do something. If you're selling paint, do a video on how to properly tape off a room so that you can paint a room effectively without like getting paint on the woodwork or something like that. Give them something of value. Next up, let's get over to your site. We want to create an inviting environment. How many sites do you visit that you click on a link and it takes 30 seconds for the site to load? Yeah, you can't do that. Your site has to be fast. In fact, they have done studies about conversion rates, and Cloudflare has, if you do a search for, and I've got links that I'll put this presentation up on my site so you can get to all of the links, but Cloudflare did some research on website performance and conversion rates. And if your website is fast, your site is going to convert better. So we're going to want to make sure that the site is fast. Make sure that you have that SSL certificate. It is necessary, not just for commerce sites anymore. Everybody kind of expects a site to have SSL on it. And use familiar terminology. I've seen some sites where they use like cute language for a cart, or they use cute language for checking out and things like that. Be really clear what you're doing, and don't try to, it will confuse people. People are used to shopping carts online and they're used to checking out online. And use terminology that's clear, and make sure your navigation on your site is clear, and make sure you have search capability. If you don't have search capability, it's going to be a problem, because that's what people want to do. They want to get to whatever that is that they're looking for. If they're visiting your homepage, they're looking for a product, they want to get right to that product. So what are some of the things that we can do? I highly recommend using Cloudflare. Cloudflare can be such a pain when you're in the midst of developing, but once your site is launched, get Cloudflare in front of your site. It gives you some security. It also makes your site faster. It's kind of like, it's a content delivery network, and it's kind of like taking a static copy of your site and putting it closer to your customers around the world, and makes things much faster. We're going to want to make sure we have fast and efficient hosting. So go GreenGeeks, right? We're going to want to make sure that we optimize our images, make sure your images are compressed, and there's plenty of tools and plugins that will do that. Smush is a good one. You just install it. I typically will install this, when I'm just getting started, or if I've added a number of images, and smush all of those down to make sure that they're optimized so they're not taking up a lot of bandwidth and making your site slower. Optimize the assets on your site. Now, there's a lot of things on your site that are beyond just images and copy. There are style sheets that basically tell how fonts are going to be loaded and how, colors and things like that. And then there's JavaScript, which is a way of interacting with a user in their browser. All of these assets exist on your site, and you may be loading things that you don't necessarily need. So you're going to want to make sure those are optimized. You can use a caching plugin for that. There are things like Fastest Cache. WP Rocket is another good one. Make sure you're using caching on your site as well as that CDN. Make sure you're using search functionality. You have search available so that people can find your products. And make sure you have that SSL and use a good security plugin. WordFont's free is an awesome plugin to use. Highly recommend that, just to make sure that everything is protected. Because the worst thing in the world, you want to create an inviting environment. You don't want to have your site be hacked and then have your customers come visit and have malware installed on their computer or get redirected to a bad portion of the internet. So security is, of course, a very important part of your site. Okay. What are your customers doing on your site? A heat map. Heat maps are really interesting. I wouldn't leave it on all the time because it kind of adds some load to your site experience, but put it on for a little while. Hotjar or Crazy Egg are a couple of heat maps, and you can actually see what your customers and your site visitors are doing on your site. So when you change something, or maybe you're just launching and you want to see, is the site being responded to by users the way I think it should or way I expected? And just do that sort of check-in to see how customers are using your site. So those heat maps are really useful in understanding how your environment of your site is being used. And then performance. If you just go to web.dev/measure, you can see how Google Lighthouse views your site. And you'll want to make sure that your site is performant from their standards. And then there's a plugin called WP Asset Cleanup. That one's really good for cleaning up that extra JavaScript, the extra CSS and things like that. It's a little complicated to use, but it is worth it. Okay, so now that we've got people on our site, we want to make sure that we're communicating the value about our product or service clearly. This means that we want good product photography, and we want to make sure that our design really showcases the product, showcases the value. We put a lot of investment into understanding our customers and understanding how our product or service is a solution to our prospects' needs. Let's make sure that those things stand out. So you want to make sure that the design is supportive of that. Make sure your copy is clear and succinct and communicates that value. And social proof. Make sure that we've invested all this time into building our social networks and making connections with people out there. If we have good followers, you think about it. If you're going to buy a product and you go on Twitter to check them out and they've got 100,000 followers versus somebody who's only got 100, that adds some credence to, well, we've got 100,000 people who are following here. Let's give this another look. It adds some credibility. Testimonials are another great way. Once you have customers, you want to ask them for testimonials. Ask them, how did this product or service solve problems for you? Give us, some feedback. That kind of feedback then sort of creates a flywheel of content that you can place on your site that adds that social proof. So all of those things, social links. I've seen a number of sites that have put down at the bottom, like, Jane from Madison, Wisconsin just bought this product. I don't know how effective those types of things are, but that might be something you want to experiment with and see if those types of social proofs of purchases that have just happened sort of feed into conversions. The copywriting, something I wanted to mention, there used to be this catalog called J. Peterman. And if you watch any of the old Seinfeld reruns, they talk about the J. Peterman catalog. This thing was crazy. I remember like way back in the day, they would have these product descriptions that were like novels, and people would read this just for the fun of it. They would read product descriptions. There's tons of creative, fun things you can do with copy that doesn't have to be just like dry, succinct, SEO'd. Have fun with it, because that kind of stuff, when people are having fun, when your passion for your product and service, the reason you got into business, comes through in your copywriting, comes through in your marketing, comes through in all of the content that you're producing, people can feel that. So if you can create exceptional content and create some great pages that showcase the solutions that you have, you're going to sell, and your products are going to be talked about. Also, high quality photos. Take really good pictures. I've seen some sites that have just like, oh my gosh, did you take this in your bathroom? You want to have high quality photos. When a photo shows a product, a person has to imagine where that product's going to fit in with their life, fit in with their solution. Think about how people sell cars. The photography for cars is out of this world. Your product photography should be good. It should show the product, it should show the service, whatever it is that you've got, it should show it in the best light as possible. There's a service called Soona, SOONA.co. And they have really high quality photos, and it's sort of a new service that I've been looking at. It's something that you might want to take a look at if you're looking for good quality photos. And of course, that's something you're going to test too. You're going to see what kind of photos are going to sell for you. So product improvement is what we're going to do for this one. We are going to take our least performant product, the one that's just like, I don't know what's going on. Do I even offer this anymore? And retake your photos and change the product description. Just experiment with it. Try something completely and totally new, something different. Have fun with it. What do you've got to lose? It's the least performant product. You're almost taking it down. See what you can do with it. Which leads into testing and measurement. Now we set up Google Analytics, so let's give it something to measure. A/B testing. So you think your website's out there, and we want to do a test. We're going to change some things and see if those changes are going to improve sales. So you basically have two side-by-side pages for a product, for example, and you might change headlines on one of them, keep everything static on one, and then change a bunch of things on another, or change just one thing and isolate that and see if the headline will change the color of the button, those types of things. Because this iterative testing, you make little changes slowly over time and see how they work. So if you change the color of a button on one product, well, I wonder if it's going to work for this other product. Will it work for the whole site? And this reduces the risk associated with making drastic changes. Again, Amazon. Think about the last time Amazon completely and totally overhauled their site. Yeah. They don't. They make iterative changes. And I'll tell you right now, if you go to Amazon.com, you're immediately in an A/B test. They are testing what's on the homepage. They're testing what's on product pages. They're testing all the time, and they're learning from that. And we get to watch what they're doing and learn from them because they are really doing gold standard kind of commerce types of things. So what can we test? Headlines. We can test photos. If you have your photos on a white background, what happens if you put them on a black background? What happens when you change the lighting? What happens when you change the copy? Forms. What happens when you add forms, when you take forms off, when you change the content of forms, when you change the color of buttons, when you change the word that's on a button, when you add a testimonial, when you add 5 testimonials, is that too much? it's going to be different. You can go research, do secondary research and see what all of these other sites have done. But your site is unique and your customers are unique because your products and your services are unique. And we always need to be testing and getting to know our customers. And our customers and our prospects and our markets are always shifting and changing. So the more we can test, the more we can learn, the more we grow. This is what the fun stuff about marketing is. If you want to just like set it and forget it and like go to the beach, you're missing out on a lot of fun of like testing and seeing, you know, have I been doing it right? Or maybe one small improvement is going to make a big impact, and why? And then you get to explore that as well. So there is a plugin for A/B testing for WooCommerce. I would go set this up. I would be using this all the time to see what you could test in order to improve things. We're almost done. See, I'm giving you like 10 things, but there's a lot of little things underneath all of this. So optimizing your checkout. So obviously, if you're selling to me coffee, for example, I'm just going to be buying coffee, send it to my house. Great, thank you. You don't need a company name. You don't need an address to all of these types of form fields you don't necessarily need. So we want to optimize this checkout because the cart abandonment rate across all industries is like 70%. Now it's going to be different for your industry. It's going to be different for WooCommerce sites. But across all industries, all commerce sites, 70%. So there's a lot of things that we can do as site owners in order to improve things. We want to make our checkout specific to our customers, and we want to make sure that we're removing any kind of friction for checking out. Now, if you go on Amazon site, you get to a point in the checkout where the top navigation goes away, the bottom navigation goes away. And the only thing you can really do within that process is checkout. They take away every other decision you can possibly make. Now, there are some people who talk about even having coupon codes will be friction to checkout. Because you have a box now for coupon codes. Okay, well, I'm checking out. Maybe I should go find a coupon code, and then they go off to like Retail Me or Not or whatever that site is, and they start looking for coupon codes for your site, and they just interrupted the checkout process. So there's some people who say don't use coupons because that's going to interrupt that flow. We want to make sure that our site's checkout is as optimized as possible. So hiding those unnecessary fields, making sure that shipping and billing address are by default identical. They can opt into adding a separate shipping address versus billing address, but most of the time people are just buying stuff for themselves. So take that friction out of the way that they don't have to enter it twice. Remove all those page distractions like what Amazon does so that there is nothing else to do except checkout right here, right now. Give me your money. And make sure that you have good payment options available. I did a shopping cart test with someone, and they just had credit card and PayPal. And we took off PayPal and we put in the Amazon checkout. Oh my gosh, it had a significant bump. For that particular person, for that particular industry, it worked for them. So if there are other payment options that you are not using, test those and see if they improve your conversion rate. Because Google Analytics, if you have your WooCommerce set up to integrate to Google Analytics, it's going to tell you what's working and what's not working. And you'll have that data measurable. That's why we set it up way in the beginning, right? And then we want to simplify account creation. How many people want to have another site that they have another password for? It's like, oh my gosh, don't make me open one password again and create another password. That's not, because I want unique passwords everywhere. Simplify it. Do simple sign-on if you can. And we'll talk about WooCommerce social login in just a minute, because that's going to be your thing to take a look at. And then no surprises. The number one reason why people abandon checkout after they are all ready to buy is they see surprises. Now, even shipping can be a surprise. Think about how many times you've gone to go buy something and it's like, what do you want? $40 for shipping? Are you kidding me? No surprises. You don't want any surprises in checkout. What you had on your sales page, what you had on your product page, has to be similar to what's going on when they're checking out. You don't want, any kind of renewal fees that are going to be different. You don't want anything that's different than what's on the product page. Be upfront with anything. Otherwise, you're going to cause increases in your abandoned cart. So those surprise fees are the top reason you're going to have problems. And so, you know, if you have to charge, if you can get away with not charging shipping, great. Otherwise, add like a shipping calculator somewhere, anywhere where they can be upfront. All of the knowledge of costs happen before they get into that checkout place. So all they're doing on that checkout page is checking out, and get rid of all of those frictional types of things. Now, the last one, exit intent pop-up. Boy, I hate pop-ups. I don't know about you, but I despise them. I don't even like I mean, I agree that we need to get email addresses from customers, but boy, I hate pop-up email. Like, but exit intent pop-ups, there is something different. If they are on the checkout page and you've taken away all of the distractions and you're seeing exit intent, meaning that the mouse is measuring that they're going up to like close the browser window, or they're, you know, navigating to go to another tab in their browser, these exit intent pop-ups can measure that. And they've proven to save about a 10 to 15% of abandoned cart visitors. So there, use an exit intent pop-up. You're going to ask for an email address there, and then you're going to nurture that person. You're going to tag that, you know, they're going to put their email address into that exit intent pop-up. Your email system, you're going to tag them in that they are from exit intent, and any other data that you have that you can customize and nurture that customer's independent need and problem. If they have a specific product, you're going to mention that specific product in the email that you send to them. You're going to get intimate with them about the particular product that they're buying or that they abandoned. So the easiest thing, though, we're going to take action with is taking a look at this WooCommerce Simplified Checkout. The great thing about the Simplified Checkout is that people can use Facebook, they can use I think it's Google, Twitter. There's a bunch of them that they can use in order to create an account, because we want to make creating an account, that's kind of like, you know, a step more intimate than just getting on an email list. They're creating an account with you. It's going to make it easier for them to be repeat customers. It's going to set a relationship, and it's going to do so in the easiest way. A study showed that 77% of consumers preferred social logins or SSO, single sign-on logins, when using an e-commerce site. It's one less password they don't have to remember. They're probably logged into Facebook. If you're using the Facebook one, they're probably still logged in, you know, looking at what their crazy aunt is doing. So you want to use that if it's available, because it's going to take away the friction of creating an account, because we want to get rid of all friction and make buying from you as easy as possible. And we want to make our offer persistent. This is abandoned cart emails, because we got their email right. If we do these quickly, studies show that if you do it within an hour, it is most effective. And then we're going to do some retargeting. Now, what does retargeting mean? So everybody's on social media somewhere, right? So if they come and visit your site, you have a pixel, and your privacy policy is going to have to show this. So, you know, GDPR, California, all of the privacy laws, if you're doing retargeting, you have to have this as a part of your privacy policy. So you're going to want to research that, but it's important that you are upfront that you're doing retargeting. But basically, if they come and they visit a product, and this happens to you, I'm sure. You go to Nordstrom's site, you look at shoes, and then all of a sudden you're on Facebook seeing what your crazy aunt is doing, and there's those shoes again. Put the product that they're looking at in their face when they're on social media again. And we want to do that. We want to get specific. Those shoes, we want to make a special offer to them if we can, especially with the abandoned cart. If they have a cart and they've left it behind, sending them a 10% coupon to just get them across that finish line, that can work. Using urgency, this coupon is only good for the next 24 hours. Make sure you are retargeting only to non-converted. So you're going to make sure that you set up some kind of integration so that your Facebook pixel knows who's converted and who hasn't. And then you're going to want to A/B test this as well. So you have 100 people who have looked at those shoes. some of those people you're going to show those shoes to, and then maybe other people we're going to just show another pair of shoes that we know is also purchased by people who are have the same type of demographics. One of the great things of being able to leverage this kind of stuff with Google Analytics, you're getting all of the demographic data that Google has about those people, all of the demographic data that Facebook has about those people. You get to leverage all of that when you use the data that some of these big companies have. And again, just make sure that you have your privacy policy set up. So for taking action here, we're going to experiment with remarketing with Facebook and Instagram. It's the easiest way and the most cost-effective way. According to research, remarketing ads, because they're so targeted, are over 400% more effective than just general advertising, because they've visited your house, your WordPress site. They've been there. So you know something about them. You know what they visited. You know what they're after. You know what problems they're trying to solve. So you can get very specific in advertising to them. So in terms of paid ads, I've never been a big fan of paid ads except for retargeting because it works. And then finally, we have customers that have crossed that finish line. Are we done? Au contraire, we are not done. We are not done at all. These are now our best friends, right? We've created a relationship. Not only have we created a friendship with our customers, we've helped them solve a problem. And now we're going to communicate with them as intimately as possible, because we are going to create a feedback loop where each sale creates more sales, where each sale creates repeat business. Acquiring new customers actually costs you 5 times as much as it costs to retain existing customers. New customers are 5 to 20% more likely to make a purchase, while existing customers are 60 to 70% more likely to make a purchase. So these people are our best friends. If you want more sales, someone who's already purchased from you is one of the best ways to make another sale, whether you are getting them to buy additional products or you're getting them to renew if you have like a recurring business. We want to also prevent buyer's remorse. I don't care what you're buying, whether it's a house or a car or those shoes from Nordstrom's, someone's going to have buyer's remorse about that. And we want to make sure that they feel good about that. About all of those purchases. We want to make sure that they find success with your product or service. The worst thing in the world is when you buy something that had a promise and it doesn't come through. It doesn't solve the problem. We want to find those people who are not finding the solution with our product or service and make sure that they're successful. Maybe they just don't know how to use the product or service correctly, and we just need to hold their hand just a little bit. That little bit of customer service, that can create an amazing testimonial. It can create an amazing story. It can create an amazing ambassador in that customer who's going to go tell their friends and family, hey, you need to go buy this too. So what are we going to do? We're going to have fun with our receipts. Receipts are so boring. How many email receipts do you get that are just like, all right, you bought this? They don't even have the logo or the brand or anything on it. There's so much more we could do with these types of receipts and communicate with our customers after the sale that makes them feel good about doing business with us and telling their friends about it. So have some fun with any kind of receipt, with your shipping notifications, any kind of those transactional emails. Have some fun with them. Put your personality into it and put your brand into it. Now, WooCommerce receipts takes a little bit of work to customize them. There are some plugins that'll help you customize them, but have some fun with that. It's important. We want to validate the purchase. Again, we're going to tell them, we're going to help them feel good about that purchase. And we're going to encourage social sharing. You can put a social share button in your receipt. Tell your friends about all of this. We want to ask for follows, because if they've come that far and they've purchased, we want to make sure that they're following us on social media, because that builds your social proof and helps, you know, that flywheel of generating more sales. We want to ask for feedback. We can ask for reviews. We can ask for testimonials. But we want to get feedback. We want to hear feedback if they're not happy, if something's not working for them. Oh my gosh, we totally want to hear that, because we want to give us the opportunity to make this right. And if it's not going to work, give refunds freely. You want that person to say, you know what, it didn't work for me, but maybe it'll work for you. It just didn't work for me, but boy, they took care of me. So make sure that, you give refunds if you're pretty clear that there's no way that you're going to help someone. So what are we going to do? We're going to have some fun with receipts. Jack Dorsey said, what if we see the receipt more as a publishing medium, a product unto itself that people actually want to take home and want to engage with and be fully interactive with? So get creative with your receipts, make them your own, make them an extension of your business. Don't just put it into your social media and into your brand and into your copy, but every single touch point with a customer is an opportunity to make an impression and to sort of pay that forward. So one study on email personalization found that 84% of consumers who receive emails from brands find it helpful when products are recommended in those emails. So another fun thing to do. So have some fun with your receipts. I know it seems like a goofy thing, but what else are you going to do? I mean, they're just so boring. There's plenty of opportunity to have fun. And really, this is all about nurturing relationships. It's all about putting people first. Profits are just a symptom of the successful relationships that you have with your customers and your prospects in your market. So if you want profits, put the people first and help them solve their problems. And keep in touch. Again, if you want links, if you want all of the fun stuff in these slides, you can just hit me up on social if you want to. I'm Kathy Zant everywhere. You can go to zant.com and send me an email. Kathy@zant.com is my email, and I will send you a copy of these. It's just Google Slides, so it's super duper easy to share with you. So that's all I got, but I'm sure we have some questions.
There's a couple of questions. One, I think you sort of answered earlier about how many from Misael. How many emails per week, month would be an adequate number? I think you already answered, but just to make sure, how many emails? Yeah,
I would do it weekly. I would create, honestly, you just have to commit to something. Somebody I was working with, they said, just commit to what you know will work for you. So if you could just do a monthly newsletter just to stay in front of your customers, but then try to increase that frequency to weekly, and then maybe try to increase that frequency to, twice a week. Whatever's going to work, it's going to be different from every single industry too. I mean, there's some people I know who just send a monthly newsletter and that's all they really need. It's going to be specific to each industry. Same thing with social media. You need to have some kind of publishing schedule. The worst thing in the world is to, like YouTube. Did you know YouTube is the second largest search engine? So if you want to get found, YouTube is amazing for that. But if you are publishing on YouTube and you go away for 3 months and then you publish again, it's almost like you kind of have to restart. So, and YouTube is a social network. Twitter, all of these places are social networks, and you want to stay in front of your audience as much as possible. But you have to be realistic about each industry. If somebody's doing say market analysis on, the stock market, does it really need to be weekly, or maybe it's monthly because it just doesn't change all that much, that type of thing. Or if they're in the crypto world and it's crazy every day, maybe they need to mail every single day, that type of thing. So.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it probably depends on the industry. Then we have Phil. Well, Phil, actually, thank you, Phil, for sharing the plugin, the WP Smash It. And
that's a great one.
Ratings. Phil is asking about ratings on your site from a third party. Is that a good thing?
Sure. Like Trustpilot and things like that. Trustpilot, from my experience, has been I think they're fairly expensive, but for some products and services, that kind of stuff works really well. Those kind of reviews, if you're soliciting reviews that go to Trustpilot or some kind of service that's not yours, and you're also including those on your site, cultivate those. So if somebody leaves you a review, answer them, thank them for the review. If they leave you a bad review, try to make it right for them. Same type of thing with, a customer who's not happy. Try to make it right for a reviewer. If they just need some additional support. Customer feedback is going to be, it's so great for for reviews and for testimonials, those types of things, but it's also great for content because somebody says, hey, how do I do something? I don't understand this thing. Oh my gosh, what a great opportunity to create some content that helps solve the problem of them not maybe understanding how to do something with your product, or maybe it's not intended for that purpose, or maybe you need to make, if it's a software product, you need to make a slight adjustment. But customer feedback is just so valuable throughout the entire cycle of sales.
Yeah. And then Phil gave us some ideas for your comment on the receipt. Chinese fortune cookie. That's cute.
I love it. That's great.
And then like a quiz to get the answer on the side. Yeah.
Yeah. Great ideas. Yeah. There's so much creative stuff we can do that, WooCommerce gives you basically a blank canvas, and that blank canvas can be daunting, right? I mean, those receipts, the receipt's out, but it's also a blank canvas where you can do so much with it. You can do, it's not standard. It's a standardized thing, but you can customize that very easily with WooCommerce and make those receipts your own and have a lot of fun with it, because your business needs to reflect you. If you're not having fun with it, people are going to feel that. They're going to understand that. And somebody who's not happy with their job or not happy with their business, or like, oh, I have to do this again, people can feel that. And so you have to find a way to make it work for you. And that's going to translate into success with your business.
That's great. So just to remind everybody, like if the people want to get the links from your presentations and your contact, what is the best way to email you?
Yeah, you can send it to Kathy@Zant.com, or you go to Zant.com. There's a form on there too that you can fill out and just say, hey, I was on the webinar, and if you want the slides, I will just shoot you a link. If you have questions about any of the stuff, or if you want me to look at your WooCommerce site and like give you like an idea or two, I love doing that kind of stuff. So you can hit me up with anything. It's lots of fun for me.
That's great, actually. We have I think another quick question from Angelica. She's asking if we can send a follow-up email with all the WordPress plugin that you mentioned to enhance and customize the shopping experience. Yeah, we can do that, right?
Yeah, sure. I could probably, if I can figure out how to do this, I can probably share it in chat right now if I can shut off the share. Hold on 1 second. Let me make sure that everybody with this link can view it. And I will share it in the chat right now. Oops, I sent it to host and panelists, of course. Let me send it to everyone. There we go. There you go.
Great. So that's your present. So good. Thank you so much. And one last thing from Pradeep. Do you have any video on how to edit default WordPress receipt? Video on how to edit default WordPress receipt.
Yeah, when I've done it, I've always just gone, there's files, PHP files, and I've just edited the HTML directly, and that might not be the best solution for everyone. There are plugins that will do that in a much more organized way, but it's just basically going into WooCommerce. If you're into like the whole code part of things, there's an actual folder, if you go in via FTP, and then you'll copy those over to your theme. So that's all how you do the customization of receipts. But there's plugins that'll do it too.
I will plug. Okay, great. Well, I think if we don't have any other question, we'll let you go. I don't see any other question, any other comment. It was great, Kathy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great to see you again.
It was nice seeing you again. Hope to see you soon in person.
Yes.
It's been difficult.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. Nice to meet you.
Well, thank you also for everybody who participated. Thank you for staying till the end and asking questions. And yeah, we'll send the recording to you probably in a couple of days, and watch out for all this information coming to you. And we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Erica. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Anna and Kathy.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.